Hey guys, so today I am in the server CubeCraft in beta games to play Giga BlockWars, and we're going over some stereotypes which are commonly seen in this game. So, the first stereotype is the house builder. This person, instead of actually playing the game, will just build a little house in the corner and do nothing to help your team. They're really annoying to have in your lobby. Typically, other players are going to try and destroy the house, so I'm just going to kind of build this house up and wait to see if someone will come along and try to destroy it. Oh, hey, someone's coming up. I don't know what they're doing. I'm going to come around and they're making a wall. Okay. This is actually pretty surprising. I'm surprised my house hasn't been grooved yet. This is a very active lobby which I'm put into. And that's basically just a house builder. They usually build the house either up on a bridge, like up there, or down below. So I'm going to work on furnishing up this house. This is a really weird thing to be doing. Lobby. Chest. As you can see, there are a lot of players in this lobby. Because the new Giga BlockWars, it'll go up to 100 players, I believe, but don't quote me on that, per lobby. There's somebody in my base looking through my chests. That's odd. Hey friend, you're on YouTube. Enjoy it. Enjoy, little bean. Oh, hey, they're waving at me. Fun. I have a bunch of trapdoors. Probably won't need half a stack. Some nice windows. Fold these up. Alright. This guy's also a house builder. Oh, I can't break the floor. Right. Anyway, I might want a door for this little house which I'm building here. Oh, here, I just put one there. I'm just gonna quickly take a sign. I think I want someone blocking us in. That's certainly helpful. Don't worry about that. I'll get you out. I'm a little. Oh, I can't write on it. Dang, I would have written a smile you're on YouTube on it if I could, but I can't. Oh well. So that is it for the base builder. Alright, so the second stereotype, which I'm going to be covering today, is the bridge guy. This person is probably a really mediocre melee fighter, but insanely good with a bow, and will always be rushing up at the very top of the map. This kind of player is more likely to be fairly sweaty than most. Although if they're a bad shot, they're really not that scary. The bad shot probably would be one of the least dangerous players you're gonna see. There's a nice few kills. But their most common death is when they fall. So usually their gameplay style is gonna consist of coming out of spawn in bridges, because bridges is really the only time to get these up high bridges. And they're just gonna immediately jump onto the ladder and head up and start fighting in the sky. Usually they basically spend their entire game time just fighting the enemy up in the sky, falling to their death, and then just spawning back in to fight again. The way bridge fighters usually don't get the best KDR unless they're extremely good with a bow or a sword. Although you'll see the bow kind of player more often as the ranges which you'll see on a bridge. You'll have an advantage if you're good with bows. Crack shots win honestly a lot of the time in bridge fights. The main way to counter one of these guys, they're not going to be much of a threat if you can get them on the ground, or if you can get them when they run out of arrows. So I'm in my inventory here, and you can see by default you have 16 arrows. And unless you get stuff at the iron generators, you can't last you will run out of ammo. And once you're out of that ammo, that's not good, especially if you're a bridge player, because you will not last long. A subset of the bridge player is the sneaky guy. They'll usually kind of do what I'm doing right now, which is they'll sneak up below your opponent on like a little secondary sub-bridge, and will try to spleef other players off the top. They're usually not that dangerous if you just break their sub-bridge, which will defeat them and make them unable to play. Alright, the next kind of player is gonna be your flag guard. This player will join any capture the flag lobby you get, and they're just gonna climb right up into this big structure which players make, find the flag room. Our flag isn't in our flag room currently, and they're just gonna sit here, fixing holes, fixing up the walls. There's not really that much to it. Basically, your entire career is you sit in one place and try and keep players from coming in. To counter this guy, just overpower him, take him down before they can hit you too bad, or else you might be in for a world of hurt. The next stereotype is the bridge player. This player doesn't know how to do anything but climb up onto a bridge, run down it, cause chaos and cause havoc in the enemy's base. This kind of person almost always has a bow and almost always dies of falling. The only real way you can get this player down is if you knock them off a bridge. But for that, usually because they're fairly good at combat maneuvering, will be quite the challenge. The bridge player will likely never leave his bridge unless he's shot down, in which case a bridge player without a bridge is about as dangerous as a sword without a blade. Mainly due to their lack of being able to fight with anything but a bow. They are very rarely good at using swords due to either a slow hit time, using the wrong key. In the case, I'm tapping right click as much as I can, but it's not doing anything because it's not a bow, it's a sword. And sometimes they'll fall back, do stuff to attempt to win their team the game. But usually, if they're near one, they'll go for the bridge, like I am now. Run to the bridge. Another thing the bridge player will be good at is clutching. Usually, if they're given a water bucket, they'll clutch with it. They can clutch with blocks too. That's it for the bridge builder. The next stereotype is the combat engineer. This player will be the one who's building the bridge for all the bridge players to run off. The fort that the base defenders use. This player will always be in the thick of things with their good trusty stack of oak planks, making structures for other players to use that will usually end up winning their team the match. A good combat engineer is like good wine. Combat engineers, usually their lifespans will be fairly short unless they're an experienced player, but having one on your opponent's team can be really annoying with the rate that they're building into your territory. In addition, combat engineers can be useful in a stationary role, as they can provide crucial fire support for an advance. In addition, a combat engineer is also going to be a bow user, due to their presence typically on bridges. Combat engineers playstyle is usually like what I'm doing right now, which you can see, it's bridging into your opponent's base, taking their flag, jumping into the pit. It's a very game-winnable strategy to have a team entirely of combat engineers. A combat engineer who can't fight, however, is just an engineer. Engineers aren't that effective. The next stereotype is the tunnel rat. This player will typically hide in the large defenses built around one team's flag, while building their own defenses, and be incredibly pesky to play against, as their knowledge of their own base is immense. They often have at least 15 sneaky little ways to go in and out of the flag room, all heavily guarded, and will never stray more than 15 blocks away from the flag. They usually get a really good KDR, simply by virtue of nobody ever will go where the tunnel rat goes, because they're untrackable. In addition, tunnel rats also have really good vision, as their abilities to sneak around in tiny little tunnels are incredible. Like I said, most tunnel rats will never stray far from their precious flag, and will often remain perched in some precarious location. Tunnel rats are typically going to be players who fight with their sword, so if you get one of the best ways to deal with a tunnel rat is to attack them at long range. Another good way to deal with a tunnel rat is by sheer use of force. Here I'm fighting a player in full diamond, and they're winning. Another common tunnel rat feature will be the use of hiding holes. In this case, I'm hiding here, where directly above the flag, easily capable of dropping onto a flag guard, while also maintaining a covered position. Here I'm mining out a little hole which I can hide around in case someone with a bow attempts to attack me. That's about it for the tunnel rat. The next and final player in this video will be the high rank pro. This player rarely dies, and if so, it's often due to enemy combat, and not as a result of, say, falling off a bridge. They'll usually be wielding diamond gear if their team controls the diamond zone, and even sometimes if they don't, they may be capable of sneaking into hostile ground. Here I'm heading directly toward the enemy-dominated diamond zone in an attempt to kind of peek around and check things out. Quite the sniping perspective from up here. A hit! And another. The high rank player doesn't typically use solely one weapon. They're a well-rounded player capable of using all of them. A bridge player combined with this is dangerous. Very dangerous. Typically, a high-rank player playing as a bridge player will usually dominate the upper levels of the match. In a match like the one which I'm in, which has been running for quite a while, the bridge high rank will usually avoid the normal engines of the base, seeing how heavily roofed they are by players who are trying to make trouble. In this case, though, there is still an intact route to the top. Oftentimes there will be some sort of sabotage to the bridge, either by a troublemaker on your side, or more rarely from players of the enemy team who somehow make it into the base. That's going to be all for today's video, so until next time, keep watching.